to, make sure you thumbs up the video. Make sure you follow me on my platforms. Wrestling Color Podcast on Twitter. I got a Pinterest. Follow me. I see y'all. Some of y'all done went over there. Hey, follow me. I like to post cute pictures. Who don't like to look at their favorite stars? And Instagram. I am very active on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook, not so much, because if you fought wrong, they gonna throw your ass in jail. So make sure you also hit me in the comments, y'all, because y'all are doing a lot of talking, and I appreciate it. I love talking back to you guys. So make sure you hit the comments. Tell me what you think about everything that's going on. And make sure you check out all my uploads. Like, I got over 100 episodes going back, I want to say 2 years I've been doing this so far. Um, it's a great way to kind of relive things and see where we're at now. Make sure you listen to my latest episodes. Tommy Dreamer, excited by the hammer. King Booker agrees with somebody not named King Booker. I'm going to start some shit today by Brandy Rose. It's what she deserves, etc., 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 and etc. I'm going to start using those thumbnails at the end so you can go to these places, because, a lot of times people just don't want to have to go and do extra clicking, I guess. So make sure you hit the thumbs up button on this. And you know what I noticed too, by the way, before we dive into this, I went to go look at my analytics, right? Because I'm growing slowly as fuck, but surely. It's cute. So I went to go look at my analytics, and I noticed there are no women that listen to me. And so I tend to sit and discuss about dick a lot, and I want to apologize to the guys that are listening. If you're not into hearing about the type of dicks and things that I want, I had no idea that there were no women over here listening. But the women that are listening, if you haven't subscribed, ladies, please subscribe. I would love a little bit more estrogen on the channel. I do enjoy the testosterone. Okay, just want to throw that out there. So we'll be talking about. So I was on the YouTubes, and there was a YouTube video popped up of Keith Lee. And Keith Lee was introduced as Bearcat Keith Lee, or some shit. And I just was just sitting back, and I leaned back in my chair, and I said, NXT, which I will be giving my thoughts on that on a different podcast. NXT has moved on to the NXT 2.0. The NXT that we all have come to enjoy and notice. You all came late to the party. I was following NXT since 2015. You know, um, that was a good time. That was some good ass story writing. Maybe a little bit too much heavy metal for me, but the Black and Gold NXT is gonna gonna be looked at and thought about as much as the Attitude Era, if you ask me. So with that being said, Keith Lee came on the scene from Evolve and all those indie wrestling shows and things like that. And I had to do some research on Keith Lee because I was like, who the fuck is this? He's good looking, got a nice little thick body. Like his vernacular is very Big E-ish. He has a very baritone, excellent for stage. Only reason why I know that, I took a theater class a couple years ago, and I can tell you anything about the stage settings, what stage needs to be doing, actors, baritones, you name it. I can tell you all that. Keith Lee would be an excellent Othello. Keith Lee would command the stage if he ever decided to go to Broadway or off Broadway and do anything. He has that voice, and Big E reminds me of that as well. So, with that being said, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm down with the whole Bearcat shit. Let me explain this something to y'all, because a lot of y'all don't know who Bearcat Wright is, and I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know too, because Bearcat Wright was way before my fucking time. If anybody know who Bearcat Wright is, it's my dad. And he was not a wrestling fan because he said wrestling is a fucking racist racket. And he was correct. But I just find it real interesting that Bearcat was the first thing that popped into Vince McMahon and what's his name? Bruce Pritchard's mind. Bearcat, here's a little backstory real quick. His name is Edward Wright. He was born January 13, 1932. He would not come across our lexicon, folks, for us to be like, ooh, Bearcat Wright. He was an American wrestling professional who became popular in the late 50s and 60s. Despite racial tensions in the United States, he became a wildly popular babyface, wrestling in either singles competition or team tag competition with Bobo Brazil. Okay, Bobo, we can go back. Bobo was wrestling damn near into the 80s, so he's a little bit more coming into more of my field. Like I've seen Bobo before with I believe that's the one with the bird, if I'm correct, on his shoulder. But Bearcat, we ain't really seen Bearcat. So anyway, thousands of fans would pack arenas to see him. He was the son of boxer Ed Bearcat Wright and had an 8-0 record as a professional boxer in the early 1950s. The Arizona Wrestling Legends website says he was seen in Australia, Canada, throughout the South, Midwest, and Texas, winning the support of fans as the battled the likes of the Sheik, Johnny Valentine, Kenji Shinobuya. Now I'm looking at these pictures. Ain't none of y'all seen none of these people live if you 40 years old, unless they was on their way out. A tall and lanky man, he was usually noted for flying drop kicks, spin kicks, and leaps off ropes. He adopted the claw hold as his finisher and was famous for desegregating wrestling. Wright declared before an audience in Gary, Indiana, that he would no longer participate in segregated wrestling. He was suspended for a short time by the Indiana State Athletic Commission for this stand. Understand, he said he was not going to deal with segregated wrestling. He was then banned by the Indiana State Athletic Commission. Shortly afterwards, professional boxing desegregated. Bearcat Wright defeated Killer Kowalski in April 1961 to win the Big Time Pro Wrestling title and become, in effect, the World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion. 5 days before Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech in Washington, D.C., Wright won the WWA World Heavyweight Championship from Classy Freddie Bassie in Los Angeles, California. Known for behemoth strength, he would rip phone books in half during promotional interviews for his matches. He was also blackballed by the World Wrestling Associates for refusing to drop the WWA Championship to Eduardo Carpentier, and then back to Fred Bassie on December 13, 1963. He is one of the few wrestlers to legitimately would not drop a title. So WWA had Gene LaBelle, known as the judo champion shooter, or one who knew how to legitimately wrestle to defend themselves as needed, to substitute for Blassie at a rematch. When Wright refused to enter the ring, WWA stripped him of his title and awarded it to Carpentier. Although Wright created controversies, promoters soon forgot about all his negative sides. Wright continued to draw money and wrestle even into the mid-70s. He ended up dying at the age of 50 on August 28, 1982 from sickle cell anemia complications. On March 31st, 2017, he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame as part of the Legacy Wing. Excuse me. So I see a lot of y'all like, oh, Bearcat Wright. None of y'all would have seen Bearcat Wright in action in real time because he died in 1982. I was born in 81. So let's just get that out. I'm looking at a picture of Bearcat Wright, and then I'm thinking about Keith Lee, and there is absolutely there's nothing I see Keith Lee and Bearcat outside of Bearcat being six, I can't even talk. 6'6", 275 pounds. Keith Lee, I believe, is about what, 6'5", maybe about 280, 285, 290. Bearcats build out of Kingston, Jamaica. Keith Lee is from the South, I believe. I don't really understand where the correlation is coming in at for Keith Lee to pick up the name Bearcat Wright. If that's the case, he could have been Keith Bobo Brazil. He could have been Keith Bobo Lee. We wouldn't fucking know. I don't understand. I don't. It was unnecessary. Let me say this, and I'm gonna let it go. I don't. Keith Lee came back from COVID and it swole up his heart, and things of that nature, and I'm glad he's back. But the moment Keith Lee stepped on the scene, outside of Triple H's care, Vince McMahon has fucked this man up from time to time. And if you want to recap how I feel about Keith Lee being fucked up, you can go back to where I put on a podcast, I believe it's called Limitless Lee. It's called Let Me Sort It Out. It's Out of My Hands. Limited. That's from 1 year ago and on my podcast. If you want to go back, I could probably try to link that too. Um, I spoke about how he came out, different music, changed his clothes. Everybody was upset. It was a big mess. You only get one chance to make a first impression. That's in life. That's across the board. There's nothing you could do about it. You get one chance to make a first impression. Most people usually take that time to tell a bunch of fucking lies, and then they fuck you over later on. But then some people keep it real and keep it 100. Keith Lee, throughout his career, had a thing about him that drew people to him. The moment he made the main roster, they fucked that up and they never could recover it. Now he's doing dark matches, and if you've been to a live, they usually put on a main event for everybody when they're coming in, and he's doing the main events, but you're introducing him as Bearcat. Then you took his Bask in His Glory, which I thought was the absolutely perfect theme song. He has another one called something come at him, something like that. It's a cool song too, don't get me wrong. But it's not giving what it gave. Like, so seriously. It's not, this is not what we want. We want Keith Lee to be Keith Lee. We want him to put on his little spandex trunks and his little bulge sticking out. We want to see his big fatty body. We want to see him do all them matches. Let me say this. Keith Lee, when WWE put NXT on USA, Keith Lee and Dominique Dijakovic, who is what, T-Bone in that Mace bullshit. I don't even know why Dominique Dijakovic is not even doing nothing. I'm gonna have to sit there and talk about that. Keith Lee and Dominique Dijakovic ran a fucking clinic on that first episode of NXT. Them two big motherfuckers was doing Spanish flies, Canadian destroyers. They was landing on each other's heads and shit, and it was just absolute perfection, pure unadulterated wrestling, nonstop, pulling out all the tricks. Big men doing shit that big men ain't supposed to do. And to see Keith Lee where he's at right now, I just need to know what's gonna happen when he comes out and they introduce him as Bearcat. I don't think the audience is gonna like it. And then you want him to be a heel. Why am I booing Keith Lee? Explain to me. What am I booing him for? What I don't. Then you was gonna put Adam Cole with him, a la Leo Rush and Bobby Lashley. Why? Keith Lee can talk. Keith Lee has a mouth on him and a very good cadence. There's no need to do what you're doing. I'm not booing Keith Lee. Period. I'm not booing him. I want to see him I want to see him succeed. He is limitless. That's what he said. I watched Keith Lee for 2 years. Be limitless. I watched Keith Lee win the North American Championship and the NXT Championship in one fucking night. And this is where he's at. I don't understand. I'm not going to get it. Explain to me in the comments. What do you think? Bearcat Lee for what? Where's the correlation? Let this man stand on his own. I don't understand why it needs to be that way. Is Vince that fucking jaded that he thinks, oh, well, I could just pull some, wrestler from the annals of time and stick it on him because they both black? Because that's what I'm getting. Keith Lee has absolutely nothing to do with Bearcat Wright. Nothing. No connection. No style. Nothing Keith Lee does says, ooh, that reminds me of Bearcat Wright. Nothing. Nothing at all. It was unnecessary and stupid. And I don't want to see it. I want regular Keith Lee basking his glory, for he is limitless Keith Lee. Double champion, made history in NXT Keith Lee. That's what I want to see. Hit me in the comments. Tell me what y'all think. This is Wrestling Color Podcast. Later.